to another episode of the Recession Resistant Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Brandon Cobb, co-founder of HPG Capital. And in today's episode, I want to go over the biohacks that changed my life and improved my mental clarity. For those of you who don't know me or may not know this about me, I'm obsessed with health. I am obsessed with productivity and mental performance. And I tend to do the same thing every single day, from getting the same amount of hours of sleep to eating the same thing to drinking the same amount of water. And when I introduce something new to my lifestyle, whether it's a supplement or it's a new diet or it's a new workout routine, I know whether or not that works because I have this baseline of doing the exact same thing every single day, and a baseline of like how I feel and think and how much energy I have. And I can split test, and I know when I introduce something new to my system, whether or not it's working. So over the past 10 years, I have developed diets and exercises and supplements and biohacks that have produced amazing mental clarity, amazing energy, and basically changed my life. And I want to share that with you today. Before we jump in, do me a favor. If you get value from these podcasts, please take a quick second and leave us a review. It feeds the algorithm that allows us to bring you more fantastic content like this. If any of this hits home with you, please do me a favor. Share with your friends and family. Share on social media. We would really appreciate it. All right, so jumping into this. So these are some of the biggest things. There's a lot of little things I've done, but I want to hit on some of the big things. So the first biohack that has changed my life is buying a cold plunge. If you don't know what a cold plunge is, it's basically a bathtub hooked up to a refrigeration system that keeps the temperature at a certain level. It sits in my garage and it's covered kind of like a hot tub, and I open it up and I keep the water around 50 degrees, which is freezing cold enough to make every cell in your body wake up. And I cold plunge every single day after my workouts. I do this for the health benefits, but mostly I do this for the mental clarity. For years, I suffered from brain fog. If I didn't get enough sleep, or sometimes I'd get too much sleep, or sometimes I would, drink too much caffeine, or sometimes I was kind of sick, but I would just have this brain fog. And it was kind of like a drag on my productivity and my mental clarity. I'm addicted to productivity. Let me tell you, my brain has associated feeling good and energy with being productive. And my brain knows that when I'm productive, I get these dopamine hits from knocking stuff out. So I'm literally addicted to being productive and knocking things out. And it's gotten to the point where my brain has recognized that when I cold plunge, it's going to get this boost in mental clarity. It's going to erase this brain fog, which is going to make me more productive, which is going to give me more dopamine. And it is hooked on that. It is actually wired to it. It's very interesting how this has evolved. But hopping in a cold plunge does several things to improve mental performance. One is it shocks your central nervous system. You are awake. I don't care how many hours of sleep you got. If you cold plunge in the morning, you are awake. There's no gradually waking up. There's no brain fog, nothing. You are firing on all cylinders and you are alive. There's a ton of other health benefits, like eradicating your inflammation. There's some health benefits as far as like the heat shock proteins it releases. Yes, I said heat shock protein, same stuff that's released when you do the sauna that helps clean up your DNA. It boosts your immune system. You're less likely to get sick. And also it has anti-aging effects. So a lot of the aging has to do with these collapse of the micro capillaries in your skin and in your body. And so when you have this collapse of these microcapillaries, the capillaries are kind of like the little areas to get to all the little crevices of your skin and body. And when those collapse, then you're not able to get blood and oxygen and nutrients to those areas. And as a result, that can kind of cause like the aging effects. Well, the best way to keep something from collapsing is to just like pump in and out. It's kind of like expanding it, like deflating and reflating a balloon over and over again. That's how it keeps that capillary open. And when you introduce cold to something, you tend to compress it and contract it. And then when you introduce heat to something or exercise and pump it back into it, it kind of expands that vessel, it expands that capillary. So it's been fantastic. So this has been something that's given me a lot of vitality, and quite literally, It's changed my life. So cold plunge is another one. Second is no processed meats. So I had the same diet, I kid you not, for 10 years, and I would make little bitty tweaks to my diet, and I would just see like, hey, how do I feel? Am I getting lighter? What does my energy level look like? Do I get bogged down? And I just noticed that when I would eat hamburgers or cheeses, specific cheeses, processed lunch meat, I just had this like rock gut, and I just felt kind of sluggish afterwards. I'm sure we've all felt this way. Pasta, especially, does this to me. I just feel really sluggish. But when I cut out all the processed meats, I noticed that like my digestive tract started behaving a lot more, and I just did not. I felt lighter. I felt like I could move a lot more easily. And so I've definitely noticed a big difference in processed meats. If a food is processed or not, if you're trying to figure that out, a great question to ask is this food able to be naturally produced? And if the answer is no, it's probably not a natural food. It's probably processed. But that was something that has really proved. This past year, I did no alcohol for 60 days, and it changed my life. Now, I've never been a huge drinker. Used to party a lot in my early 20s in college, and just over time, I've kind of graduated away from that. Not so much interested in going out anymore. I used to love craft beer. Now I don't even drink hardly anything at home. But no alcohol was something that I did every January for the past 10 years. So I usually pick a month out. I'll usually try a new diet. I'll usually, go as far as doing weird stuff like abstinence for an entire month. I love split testing and just seeing how different biohacks affects my body. But I would always do no alcohol in January, just for a month, and always loved it. Usually ended up losing 4 or 5 pounds. Feeling better. But this year I did it for 60 days. And I can honestly say that at the 46-day mark, I felt something that I had not ever felt in my entire life. I had achieved a level of clarity with my brain that I'd never experienced before. And honestly, a lot of this new information, this revelation I had came from doing these podcasts and presentations. I noticed around the 46-day mark that I was able to put sentences together better. I was using less. I had less pauses. I just felt like everything was clicking in my brain so easily and effortlessly. And then I I had to go hang out with some buddies and catch up, and we had a couple drinks, and then boom, I could just tell it takes a long time to recover from alcohol. And if you're going out every other weekend or every 3 weeks and you're having a drink, it affects you for much longer after that than you think. And, I was somebody that I probably had a couple drinks every 2 to 3 weeks, and I didn't realize what kind of effect that was having on my physiology, especially over a 12, 13, 14, 15-year period. I mean, it makes a big difference. And, recently I've really decided that I'm only going to drink on special occasions. So, I'm getting married in May. I'll drink at that. Buddy has a bachelor party. I'll drink at that. My brother crushes it, hits a big milestone in his business. I want to take him out to a special bourbon bar for drinks. I've got certain things that I will do alcohol with, but I no longer casually drink. That has been a huge factor in me. So I would challenge everyone to go 60 days and make a note in how you feel. It changed my life. The other big biohack that has improved my mental clarity is keeping a calendar. I was all over the place. I kid you not. I would have trouble sleeping at night. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I didn't know why I was having trouble sleeping. And I realized that it was because I had so many thoughts and things I had to do bouncing around. And I could not live with myself like that. I was going crazy. I couldn't sleep. And I implemented a practice that immediately solved the problem. Right at night, I would get a piece of paper out and I would write down all the things that I had to do, all the monkey thoughts banging around, and boom, I didn't have to think about them anymore because they're on paper, and I could go to sleep. And I'd do that in the morning as well and add anything to it. Now my life is basically controlled by a calendar. Everything I have to do is on it. So not only do I not have to think about it, I know and how I have reminders of when I need to do that thing. So keeping a calendar for everything, not just work stuff. I'm a big fan of Google Calendar. All my work stuff is in blue. If I meet with people, it's green. So I know that, hey, I have a phone call or a in-person meeting. Like it tells me that. If it's purple, it means that it is a family or friend event. Like it's a personal life event. And that means like, ding, 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 you definitely don't need to miss this, but I'll color coordinate it. So when I'm looking at my calendar, I know exactly, what portion is attributed to work, personal life. And if it's red is blocked out, and it basically means this is like you can't not do this thing. It's usually work related, and it's like when I turn my phone off and I do it and I get it done. And this is more like work on the business stuff, very, very high dollar per hour activities that have to get done. And having that has kept me on track, and it's freed up my mind in so many ways. So keeping a calendar, highly recommend. The next is having a schedule for caffeine intake. I love anything that is nootropic related and actually has an effect. And by far, I think that caffeine has the biggest effect. I've experimented with different nootropics, brain enhancing supplements. Nothing's really caught my attention. I really do like the Four Sigmatic brand. I put the plant-based protein in my my green smoothies, which is the next thing I'm going to talk to you about. And, I think I've seen a little bit of an uptick, but I don't know that I have experienced a big enough difference in mental clarity to say like, hey, you've got to use this. But caffeine does. Coffee specifically. I love coffee, but I've noticed that I tend to perform better on coffee when I don't drink it every single day and my body becomes dependent on it. And dating somebody who is like a caffeine coffee addict, I see the effects it has when she doesn't have it. She is just down in the dumps. Like she's not having a good day. She is definitely has a need to drink coffee before interacting with people in the day. So I usually only drink coffees on like Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. It's almost like a treat for me. I look forward to it. So there's 4 days out of the week where I will consume caffeine. I'm sorry, 4 days out of the week where I don't consume caffeine, and 3 days out of the week where I do consume caffeine. And I can tell you, like, it hits a lot more. Every now and then I'll go a few weeks without caffeine. And let me tell you, when you come back, like you have one cup of coffee and you are ready to go. And I'm going to add to this. So I had heard somewhere, I think it might have been Andrew Zuberman's podcast, that if you, it was a way to avoid the caffeine crashes, which I would get sometimes. And he basically said, I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining the science, but if you wait an hour and a half in the morning before drinking your cup of coffee, you're not going to have that crash. And he said the reason because of that is your adenosine levels have not built up yet. And I think, again, don't quote me on this, but caffeine is like an adenosine inhibitor. So if you're able to wait and let your adenosine levels build up in the morning and you drink that cup of coffee, you're not going to get that crash later on. And I started doing that and I noticed a difference. I don't have any crash. So drinking caffeine an hour and a half after waking up has been absolutely incredible. The next thing I want to talk about is a green smoothie. So did y'all know that over 50% of your dopamine comes from your gut? I did not know this. This was news to me. I'm like, how in the world does your gut produce dopamine? So I started introducing green smoothies to my diet and it completely changed my life. I immediately have energy. It cleans me out. I feel light. I typically throw kale with some blueberries, half an avocado, with some plant-based protein that has some nootropics in it, and a scoop of hydrolyzed collagen and non-fat, no sugar Greek yogurt. And this has just been fantastic for my health. It's the one thing I can drink and immediately get an energy boost afterwards. And I just feel good. It also ramps up my metabolism. And I'm usually hungry within a couple hours afterwards. But the green smoothie has been a complete game changer for my diet. Let's see. Anything else that I have not covered on right now? The last thing that I have done, and I might throw a little bonus in here because I just thought of something, but it escaped me. Hopefully it comes back. But buying a Whoop. Now, the Whoop, for those of you who don't know, is a bracelet similar to the Fitbit, but it tracks so many different variables. And what I really love is it actually tracks my sleep, it tracks my recovery, and it tracks my strain. Now, what I primarily use it for is tracking my recoveries and tracking my strain. And I split tested this, and this is so crazy. I've even had one or two alcoholic beverages, and it knows that I have had alcohol because my recovery is not as good the next day. I mean, it is crazy how accurate this thing is. It pinpoints almost the exact within minutes of when I go to bed, because it's tracking your resting heart rate, which drops significantly when you sleep. So I now know exactly how much sleep I get. And here's the kicker. It tracks your sleep deficit. So after it's gathered enough information on you, it knows kind of what a baseline resting heart rate is. It tracks your breaths per minute, your respiratory rate, which is an indicator of how recovered you are. If you're not recovered, your body needs more oxygen. In order to get more oxygen, you increase your number of breaths per minute, and it knows that. That's crazy. Again, because I've done the bachelor parties that prove that this is true, and it knows when my breaths per minute goes from 15 to 18 for a few days, and my heart rate goes from a resting heart rate of 48 up to 75. So it knows when I'm not recovered versus when I'm recovered, and it's able to give me that data. And that's why I really like it. It tracks my sleep deficit. So it tells me exactly when I'm getting enough sleep and when I'm not. Now, again, I don't take it with just 100%. I'm not recovered today. I feel like crap, right? It's made as a supplement and not the end all be all. So I take some things with a grain of salt, but I find that most of the time the information is really, really good. One of the things I learned was just because I'm getting in bed at 9:30 p.m. and waking up at 5:30 p.m. doesn't mean I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. The amount of sleep you actually get does not equal time in bed. And this was huge for me. As a result of that and seeing how much sleep I wasn't getting, you actually can see on a graph, on a line chart, how much sleep you need versus how much you got. And I can tell that on the days and weeks where my sleep need is met, I feel better. I genuinely feel better. I mean, it has changed my life. Another big benefit that might not seem like a huge deal, but it was for me, and honestly, it was life-changing, is the haptic alarm. So the haptic alarm on my Whoop, it vibrates to wake me up. There is no sound. I had spent years waking up to a sound. The first thing that happens to me during my day is I get startled and my anxiety levels go through the roof. This happens to everybody. When you're startled and scared by something, your anxiety, your adrenaline levels, your norepinephrine, your did I say anxiety again? Can I say that enough? It goes through the roof. Absolute worst way to start your day, being in that kind of state and being scared. Horrible way to start your day. I wake up so well rested and non-startled. It's a very soft wake, and all because of this vibrating haptic alarm. It's been a complete game changer for me. That's it. That's all I've got for you guys today. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode. We'll see you on the next one.